Hey, welcome back. We're going to be talking about better self-coaching questions to ask your temperaments. Today, we're going to be talking about sanguines.
Yeah. It's going to be a part one of a four-part series.
Yeah, because guys, when you ask better questions, you get better answers. And each of the temperaments actually have different questions that they respond differently to. And so we're going to give you guys better questions to ask the sanguine.
Come learn about yourself if you're a sanguine, or learn about your sanguine loved ones in this podcast. We'll see you in there.
Oh, hey guys.
Welcome back. Season 2. It's only been 127 episodes up to this point.
Yeah, really, really long season. Guys, we were so excited that we have actually a lot of things to share with you. But really what we're going to be talking about in this series of podcasts we're bringing back the temperaments. A lot of people love the temperaments, and we love coaching people in the temperaments. And really what this series is going to be is better self-coaching.
Yeah, better self-coaching questions that you can ask based on your temperament. And so when we say self-coaching, the primary tool that we have is our journal for the self-coaching. Yeah. It's a process, a 7-exercise process that just helps you kind of go and bring to awareness what's going on in your own interior life. And we're really leaning hard into the reason cycle, okay? So you'll hear us talking a lot more in 2023 and beyond about the reason cycle, which is really our process for helping people to move from a place of self-awareness to self-possession, and ultimately in a mature place of self-gift. Human maturity, like human formation, a mature, well-formed human is one that's living in that space of self-gift, right? So how do we get there? Self-awareness, self-possession, self-gift. And a lot of that work, I'd say majority of that work, is taking place mining our own interior life. And so if you want to get down to an understanding and grow an awareness of what's going on in our interior life, the good, the bad, the ugly, got to ask better questions. And some questions land, we find, with our coaching. Some questions based on your temperament land better than others. Some of them are just, they're just flops, right? Yeah. And so we started to see some consistency. Aaron, you really started to see this too.
Yep.
And
in my own life, I mean, it was like, I don't know. It's like the question, what goal do you want to achieve, was like the least exciting question for me.
And I was just like, there's just something wrong with you. Like, that was kind of like my choleric showing up there.
Such a choleric response.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're just, all right. So I guess we're just not going to get anything done. Like, not going to have any goals. So we tried to just kind of push down that path. And finally, you started to, even with this last coaching cohort, is where you started to explore this a little bit more. Maybe
I'm not the only one.
Yeah, maybe there's something about motivations behind these temperaments, and we can just restructure the questions a little bit. Folks, that's what we're doing with this small series is, how do we ask questions that are custom to our temperament? And so we're going to get better answers, better results from asking these questions and considering who we are based on an awareness of our temperaments here as well. Yeah.
And you can apply these to yourself in journaling. You can use our journal. You can use our free digital download. That's on our website, CatholicCoaching.com. Or you could just start asking yourself these questions, or you could ask your spouse. Like, let's say you're married to a sanguine. You could start asking them these questions, because really the way that we created this little series is we took the main motivators of each one of the temperaments and we constructed questions out of those motivators. Really fun stuff. Maybe just for me, I'm a little nerdy there. But before we get into this, I am so excited to say that we have, if you guys took our temperaments test, remember that assessment that you guys took? It was free, and it still is free. You can still take it. Links in the bio. Links here. Not in the bio. Links in the show notes.
Links in the show notes, yeah.
Yes. So you could go take that. If you've already taken it, great. We now have our temperaments report in our store. So you don't have to be a part of our academy. to like get access to that. And this thing is robust. And you get all 4 temperaments on it. So it's great. You know, you could look at your primary, your secondary. You could look at your spouses, your kids, your husbands, you know, whoever. You can look at everybody else's temperaments too. But this thing is jam-packed with value. There's vices, virtues, journal prompts in there. There's coaching. We even did a video. We coached each other.
Common mindsets that may pop up, toxic mindsets, and some coaching examples through it. I had a client of mine that actually had done a lot of research on temperaments and her own temperament, and she was sanguine, and she read through this one report, and she was just like, at the end of it, I felt just like really deflated by it. Like
not our report.
Not our report. She's like, I felt really deflated by it. And it was just like, I just felt like hopeless was kind of like where she was at. She felt very painted into a corner by it. And I was like, well, it sounds like it was written by a melancholic. You know, here she was sanguine. And then she took our report and she was just like, there's just so much more hope. Like I could read through it very quickly and I could claim what was mine and kind of say, nah, not really over here. But I could really use it as a tool to grow in my awareness. So now it starts to focus my efforts of self-possession. Like what's a particular area of vice that I can recognize and without judgment and just say, okay, this is something I want to work on it a little bit more, intensely. Intensely, not intensely. Intentionally. Thank you. Be a little bit more intentional.
Intentionally.
Intentionally. So it becomes a great resource for that. But also, I find that it's a great tool for growing in compassion.
Yes.
For your spouse or for your kids.
And for yourself.
Yeah. When you start to recognize it's like, oh, okay, this is just kind of a common tendency that's part of their temperament. Doesn't mean that we have to just accept that it's never going to change, condone or we don't invite or condone them. But it's just like, okay, I can just see that this is kind of a common way that they go, or they're inclined to, be motivated a little bit differently than I am. So I see this being a great tool for just whenever you have a goal that you and your spouse are working towards, which is all the time. You've got like, even if it's a healthy marriage, that's the goal. Like what is driving the other person? What does winning look like for the other person? This report helps you to really dial in on that.
Yeah. So if you're interested, go check it out in our store, and it's only $10.
Yeah.
As of cheap. Today. I don't know if it's always going to be that much or that little.
Off the shelves.
But go check it out.
Go get it.
The gift that keeps on giving. Okay, so here we go. We are going to be talking about the sanguine today.
Mm-hmm. All right, so self-coaching, better questions, better self-coaching questions for the sanguine temperament. Got it. I can read.
That's right. Okay.
Cool.
So, I mean, okay, so what kind of sparked this was I was just so frustrated with people asking me.
Like she's like,
what
people,
goal,
it's like my husband.
What goal do you want to achieve? And I'm like, I like hate that question because it was just not motivating at all. And then I would notice there were some people I was coaching and they'd be like, they'd light right up. Like, what goal do you want to achieve? And they'd be like, all about it. They'd be really excited about it.
There was even a time, and Aaron doesn't really remember this, but there was a time where I had to argue to keep exercise 3, goal setting with God, in our journal.
Yeah.
Be like, no, this is pretty important.
Because I was like, well, just throw them all out. Stupid. It's a stupid question.
I don't like them. Cast them from my sight. So the way that we're going to be going through this is we want you to be able to take our journal resource, so 7 exercises. And again, that is the tool that helps to code the reason cycle, this way of thinking that really brings you to a place of freedom from some of those mindsets that are holding you back so that you can accomplish your goals or whatever your design, whatever your pursuits are, your aims, your focuses for this season of life. We're going to go through each one of those 7 exercises, and Aaron has come up with a couple of prompts, some journal prompts to help you get more out of each one of those exercises for the sanguine. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, here we go.
Ready to go. Okay, exercise 1, successes from yesterday. What's going on in this journal, in this exercise here, Aaron?
I think this exercise is a great gain versus gap exercise. Yep. So like, the gap and the gain, this Dan Sullivan's book, but it's like what we focus on, we probably expands in our mind what we focus on. And so we start off our journal with this question: what are the successes from yesterday?
Yeah, where's God's grace showing up in my life?
Right. Now everybody has a different definition of what success is. So you're going to ask that question in a different way. And so really, success is where you land. So we have motivators that move us to a place where we land. So the first thing that we're going to open up with is what really motivates and like where the sanguine really wants to land. Right? So sex. Sorry about that. Success equals influencing and connecting with others. Like
for the sanguine. Success for the
inspiring others. Guys, I'm so sorry. My brain is like so foggy. I got sick over the holidays, so I sound like Chucky from the Rugrats right now. Remember that show?
Okay. Yep.
And I just feel loopy right now. I feel like my brain is I'm saying words like sex. Okay, let's rewind.
We can forgive.
Okay.
Moving on.
Here we go.
Tell us more about sex.
Successes for the sanguines are: we love inspiring, influencing, helping, and connecting and collaborating with others. We are people-oriented people. That is where we love to land. We want meaningful connections. We want things to be fun and exciting and adventure and novelty and variety and creating new things. These are all things that
drive the sanguine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they want to land in these places. But ultimately it's to connect and move others. Like that's really where they want to land.
Yeah, move others into action. So it could be emotionally moving somebody through like a great story.
Yep.
It could be like giving them a word that actually gets them off their butt and has them starting to move in some sort of direction. It could be one person. It could be a team that you're inspiring. It could be in front of an audience. So like the sanguine needs, in order to move people, you need to be around people. So there's a desire. It's one of those extroverted temperaments that really is fueled by being around other people. So you start to think of even the ideal environment, the ideal conditions for the sanguine to really thrive in here as well. Yep.
Okay, so these are the constructed questions. So instead of being like, what was my success from yesterday? You could be a little bit more intentional and individualistic when it comes to the sanguine. So here's what that could look like. How did we, Lord, you and I, inspire, help, or collaborate with others yesterday?
Ooh. How does that land on you, sanguine Aaron?
Oh my gosh, it was so helpful. Actually, I asked this morning, and I realized evenings where I feel really restless, I feel like I've produced a lot throughout that day, but not necessarily connected with somebody. I feel very restless at the end of the night. Now, I know that's not the same thing for you.
Well, for me, it's just like my melancholic. It's just like, I'm here. You can connect with me. Yes. Don't go connect with YouTube.
Yeah, but also like just that desire to really intentionally connect and to be able to look back on the day before, like, okay, where did I do that? Where was I intentionally doing that? So I think it's a very helpful question, and to intentionally give yourself those opportunities to do that, and whatever that looks like. And what I found even in my journaling this morning, I realized I need to share with others too. So because I think I love coaching, I love helping others, but also for us to connect both ways, I need to be coached. I need to share my own interior life with someone, and that really fills me. So I think that's just a really good question to ask yourself on reflecting from the day before.
Right. So you want to a place of like, here it's like, we're starting, what are your successes? Okay. And so what Aaron, it sounds like you're framing is we're looking at the temperaments, where they desire to rest. And so how does success through the lens of that temperament, what does it look like? And what you found for you as a sanguine, knowing that you're inclined to be in relationship, to be in that communion, to rest in that communion with other people and also to be influencing other people, you started to look specifically to where you were resting in influencing other people, or you were resting in communion with other people.
Yes.
And folks, the reason why we do this exercise is so we start to look back and see it, so that when the opportunities in the present moment are presented in front of us, our brain is already inclined to kind of go there, right? And so when we look back, we're like, connection was awesome. When I did this, I felt really connected. When this is in front of you in that present moment and those conditions are there, you're inclined to say yes, to experience more of that grace, stepping into that zone of grace without judging it, where we might have some sort of judgments and we're like, I'm not going to go there or something like that. So you create, by doing this, you create more of that ideal space to be who you are, to be that sanguine, and to rest in what really motivates you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Another question you can ask yourself is, what new and exciting thing did I create or initiate with the Lord yesterday?
Sanguines are feelers too.
They
feel. I hear this. So when you say exciting.
Yes.
Exciting.
Yes.
It's
new. Like. New is another word that's really helpful for like novelty. Like what's something that's new? That create is another word. A lot of sanguines are very creative. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're artistic. It's just you can create new things. You make these connections and you're like, here. Like you just create these thought babies, a lot of these idea babies.
I hear high positivity in that. So like the Clifton strengths, the positivity and woo are often common in the sanguine temperament. And so it's just like, you're that excitement is one of those positive emotions, but maybe excitement doesn't drive you that way. Maybe it's more of a kind of a passion. Yeah. Maybe it's something that's a little bit tempered, even though like sanguines can feel very big. Right? The feelings can be intense,
but they're quick.
You know, what maybe it's joy. Where did I experience joy in this place? Think about the fruits of the Holy Spirit that you really identify with, and then latch onto that and let that be kind of the fruit that you rest in. Okay, that's how we're defining success. Where did I rest in peace? Where did I rest in kindness? Where did I rest in joy? Yeah,
joy. Joy is a big. It's a big one. Another word is initiate too. The enthusiasm of the sanguines love helping people initiate new projects, ideas, things like that. They're not always finishers. I mean, we'll just say like you can grow in that virtue to finish that, but they do love that momentum, moving people into an action of sorts.
So food for thought on exercise 1 in our journal. Exercise 2, Erin, gratitudes.
Gratitudes. These are obviously good for anyone to do. Gratitudes, you know. And these are actually very easy for a sanguine to do. If you look at a sanguine's journal, like let's just say there's a sanguine out there somewhere doing our journal, and you look at their gratitudes, chances are it's going to be a lot of people in their gratitudes because they are people oriented. But you can get a little bit more, I guess, creative with this. And it's really kind of inviting the sanguine to reflect on ideal circumstances or ideal conditions that have been kind of set up for them. So like, you know, it automatically allows you to just go into like exclaiming like thanksgiving to the Lord. Like, my goodness, I love the fact that I have heat in my house. Like, let's just say Europe. I love the fact that I have AC in my house because I live in Florida. But if you're up in New York, you probably love the fact that you have heat in your house. But for the sanguine, they have some particular ideal conditions. And they are like being on a team or paired with people who may be finishers. That's a great ideal condition. Like, I think about that all the time when we're on our team at Metanoia Catholic, and I'm like, I am, well, up until Abby, and up until we hired Abby, like, I think I was like the only like initiator, like sanguine, where I was just like, let's go, let's get started. But I'm not a finisher at all. But I've like had all these executors on the team, all these people who are finishers.
Yeah, and you finish. It's just not like as motivating as some of the other executors.
Opportunities to have meaningful and positive connection with others. So like, I am so grateful that I get to coach for a living. And this is like the way that we like provide for our family. Like that is so cool. And because you can't help but but enter into a meaningful conversation when you're coaching.
Yeah. It's even like I am grateful for Zoom, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To be able to connect with people and have like
all over the world.
These face-to-face all over the world. It's not in person, but there's still something great that can happen that we've seen there. So sometimes those are the things that pop up. Like, I'm so excited that we have a business model that works. Lord, I'm so excited that you have chosen to make us entrepreneurs. Like, not everybody has that gift.
That was another one. So it's like an opportunity for creativity and to use your natural gifts. Whoa, like I get to create new content all the time. Like I have to for my job, but like also I get to.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's like gratitude for those ideal conditions that really allow you to flourish in the gifts of your temperament.
Live in your strengths.
Cool. Live in your strengths.
Okay.
Awesome.
Next, goal setting.
Exercise 3, goal setting.
This was the one that really kind of sent us on this journey to find, okay, there's got to be better questions to ask particular temperaments. Obviously, guys, this is all suggested. You don't have to do these, but like if there is a question that we like propose here and then you're like, I really want to use that, please go for it. Go use it. Use it on all of the people, on the peeps. Okay. So for me, obviously I've already shared the question, what goal do you want to achieve, really lays flat. For me, I'm like, I do not care. It's that word achieve. I don't care about achieving things. I'm not saying all sanguines are like that. Maybe there's some out there who do. Personally, it's just not something that motivates me.
Yeah, that achiever is like, even Clifton Strengths, it's an executor strength. It wants to rest in having something like completed a tangible result, right? And so you've already said, like, not really a finisher. Like, that's not really where I'm motivated to end.
I don't like checking off boxes. Things, but like, could care less.
I don't care.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's just, doesn't really checking boxes. Or for me, I feel a little bit more motivated by that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what motivates? So knowing the sanguine, again, they're motivated by what, Aaron?
Connection, novelty, creativity, inspiring others, influencing others.
Okay. So these questions are going to point towards, how do I rest in more of that? Okay. What
and
do we got?
This is for exercise 3. So like in our journal, guys, it says, Lord, I desire blank because blank. So it's, Lord, I desire this thing. But it's really the whole premise of that is goal setting with God, like how to set a goal with God and how to present something.
Yeah,
so,
we've even built this into our new Reason Cycle course. That's at the foundation of our Metanoia Catholic Academy. So you join the Metanoia Catholic Academy, and the Reason Cycle course is step 1. It's a short course here, but really when it walks you through, one of the lessons that it walks you through is the goal setting. And part of that is picking the question that inspires you the most to actually name a goal or name an aim or name a focus, whatever that is.
It's the thing that you desire.
Yeah.
So we know that sanguines have a lot of desire. Nobody's questioning that. That's actually, we've shared that in podcasts in the past. Like that's one of their very easily accessible emotions is desire. A lot of times it's taming the desire. A lot of times it's containing the desire. It's saying like, no, we're going to focus on this. And so these questions I think are really helpful. Another resource I would love to point you guys towards, and I know we're pointing you towards all these different resources, but it's our UCS, our Unique Call to Sanctity. And I love those questions in there where we're talking about the passion. Passion is something not like the world says it now, like, oh, what are you passionate about? Like really, 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 really like. It's what are you willing to sacrifice for? What are you willing to invest time, energy, money, all of the things? What are you willing to suffer under so that you can achieve or grow to
expand
to this place? So that's something to consider. If you are saying when you go, I don't know what I like. There's so many things I like. Just ask yourself that question. What is it that I'm willing to sacrifice for? Okay, so here are some questions that help you set goals as sanguines. What new thing, could be a habit, a skill, talent, gift, do you want to try? I asked all of our coaches this question. I was like, which ones kind of appeal to everybody? It was like, what's everybody's primary, secondary temperaments? And I would did this entire intake thing. And all these sanguines picked this one. what new thing do you want to try? So we have that new, that novelty word, right? Mm-hmm. And then try. One person goes, try being like the operative word. Yes.
Like it leans into the non-committal.
Yes.
Like
what do you just want to try?
Yeah.
Yeah. But notice it starts to move. It starts to kind of move you. It doesn't stop you. Mm-hmm. The question, what goal do you want to achieve, stops you. Or at least it stopped me. And it stops a lot of sanguines that I know. Mm-hmm. So what do you want to try? Like, what's something new that you want to try?
Okay.
What would be so cool to create? Notice, right? All my sanguines out there, you guys are like, are your ears perking up? What is that? Like, what would be like the coolest thing for you to create? What would make your life more enjoyable? I don't say we fight it. We don't fight it, guys. Sanguines love to live an enjoyable life. Mm-hmm. Let's not fight it. Let's work with that momentum and say, what would actually make your life more enjoyable in a more sustaining way? Like, maybe it's not these ups and downs, these big dopamine hits. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just like, let's enjoy life on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. What would do that? What do you want to share? Oh, this was a popular one too. What do you want to share with others or the world the most?
That got very big very quickly.
It did. Got very big.
Or the world.
But that's that generosity, that natural generosity that the sanguine always is driven by. I just want to share this. So it kind of works backwards. I want to share this thing, but then also I have to be kind of good at it so I can share it. Mm-hmm. So it's like a backwards way of attempting.
You already said this one. What are you passionate about that you want to invest more time in? And this is something, even again, going back to the unique Call to Sanctity workshop, we have that for free. You can just go to our Instagram, metanoia.catholic, and in the link tree, you can find the link to that. But when you get to that section on the passions, you're looking back. It's like, where do you go to find evidence that you're passionate about something? You go and say, where have I spent money to experience this? Where have I spent time, resources? Where have I invested my focus?
Yeah.
Right? Think of your focus as you're listening right now. Like there's an investment that you're making in this podcast. Where have I invested my focus?
Look at your podcast
for something. Yeah. Look at the podcasts that you listen to, right?
See,
the subscriptions that you have, the TV shows that you watch. You start to gain a little bit of insight into areas of passion.
Yeah, I love it. And then finally, this one's kind of like the first one, but if I couldn't fail, what would I have fun doing? Mm-hmm. Or what would I have fun creating? Or what would I have fun initiating if I couldn't fail? So there you go. Goal setting questions for you sanguines out there. On to the next. We have the thought recon, which is our exercise 4. And this is where we have a topic, and then we have pretty much a brain dump, a big thought dump that happens there. I just think that word dump is so funny. Okay. I'm like a 12-year-old boy.
Yep.
Okay. So, but this is to follow your exercise 3, which is, Lord, I desire blank. So I have an example here that I think a singer. Are you still laughing?
I'm still thinking about dump. It's like, okay, keep going. Dump it on us.
Okay. So the sample exercise 3 for the sanguine. Don't make me laugh. I am so dizzy right now. I'm my brain feels like a big dump. Big mesh.
All right. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Here we go.
Thought recon.
So we're on to the thought recon. It's like the church laugh.
It's not even that funny.
It's not.
All right. So you identified the desire and the goal you want to focus on. Now you got to see why you aren't there yet. Okay, so
here's my example.
The reason the reason why we aren't at the goals is because we haven't been transformed. Think of your goals. To attain those goals, you have to become a new person, and you become a new person from the inside out. And so rather than just white knuckling yourself to new behaviors or doing new things, developing new habits, you're actually going to your interior life, and you are really starting to just clean it out through this. Do we need a pause?
Nope.
Goodness gracious. Okay. You're cleaning it out. It's embarrassing how
Why are you so embarrassed? Who cares?
Okay.
I mean, I know you guys are all laughing with us. I know you're laughing.
Topic. Brain dump.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So.
This is like my melancholic is like, this is driving me crazy. And all the other melancholics are like, shut up. I'm turning this off.
Stick around. Okay. So here is an example for the sanguine. Lord, I desire to share what I have learned with the students at Ave Maria University because I really wish that I had these tools when I was in college. Okay, so that's an example of exercise 3. Moving on to the thought recon is, okay, why aren't we there yet? Why haven't we actually figured this out yet?
Started sharing, yeah.
Yeah. So here are some of the constructed questions that you could ask yourself in finding out all of your thoughts that are in the way. And it's, why haven't I shared it with them yet?
Okay. Why haven't I acted?
Yes. Have I shared anything with them yet? And how did I do that? Like, what worked? What hasn't worked? What obstacles remain in the way of creating the most impact? Which of those obstacles are inside my control or outside my control?
So why are these particular to the sanguine?
I think it's like shared. That word shared has been used in there a couple of times. And shared kind of harkens back to that generosity, that natural generosity of the sanguine. It's a little bit more of a positive note. It's not like, what are all the problems in the way?
Okay.
It's like, okay, so like, have we shared something already? And then like, how did we do that? And then like, what worked and then what hasn't worked? See how it's kind of the way that the order of the questioning is a little more sanguine, I think.
Okay.
Using that word creating, what obstacles remain in the way of creating the most impact? That's kind of, or
I see.
Moving out of the way so I can be generous.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're constructing these questions, always having them like framed with the goal,
words.
the motivation in mind. It's like, okay, so I want to create, what's this in the way of this creation? Now it's the focus of, like, it's not just identifying the problems so that we can just feel all icky and uncomfortable. Because if you just want to, like, sanguines tend towards positivity, and positivity can be triggered by negativity, where it's just like, okay, I just want to ignore the negative. And that's not helpful when the negativity, the problems are there and you're just leaving them in the dark because you don't want to look at them. But it's like, okay, how can I look at these things with the focus really being on what I desire, the creativity that's here, the connection that's here.
And the questions are designed to draw it out in you without like immediate resistance.
Yeah, keeping the motivation at top of mind. Yeah.
And we've said this before, and I think this is fascinating to me. A lot of sanguines I know who do our journal pause at this spot. They go, why do I need to focus on all the problems? Like they just stop doing the journal at this point of the journal. And so here are some other questions where if you just look at like the obstacles as not necessarily problems, they're just things that are kind of in the way that we just need to go, can we just like kind of move that out of the way a little bit? Like they are surmountable obstacles. And so the way that we've asked those questions is demonstrating that. So some things that might come up for the sanguine in their thought recon are just like overlooking difficulties. They might be easily distracted. Okay, why didn't I follow through with that? Well, I got distracted by this other thing. Just lack of follow through, despair, even like, see, I just never get these things done. Like even when I make up my mind, I just don't follow through with it. And so they're like, that's that whole rabbit hole that we go down. Boredom, disconnection, working alone. Maybe those are some things that are in the way. Lack of freedom, like feeling like somebody else is like imposing, you have to do this.
Yeah. So these aren't really questions. It's just like, just be aware if these things are popping up, because if these things are popping up,
these are going to be common.
These are demotivators for you to actually take action.
But they're also will be the subject of a lot of your thought recons. That's what I mean. Like you'll be like, oh, I just got distracted again. I got distracted again or whatever. Like these things might be coming up. Also just like not wanting to do the arduous thing. That's another thing that like it's hard, you know? And that's a thought in your mind actually.
Yeah. Effeminacy is one of those vices, right? That's common to the Sanguine.
Yep. So so we're moving on to exercise 5 here. Capture and reflect. This is where all of the thought work really starts, guys. Up until now, we're just laying the groundwork. We're kind of like getting all the thoughts out of our brain. We haven't reflected on them yet, but this is exercise 5. Exercise 5 is capture and reflect. So we're capturing a thought. What is it? 2 Corinthians 10:9?
5. 10:5.
10:5.
Take all thoughts captive to obey Christ.
Yes.
And we take all thoughts captive to obey Christ.
So this is what we're doing. We're capturing just one of those thoughts and we are writing it out. So here's a sample thought that a Sanguine would have. I have to write out a proposal to the decision makers at the school. That's a thought. So that might seem like a useful thought, but for a Sanguine, my friends, it is not. It's a very demotivating thought for a Sanguine. So here are some constructed questions that you could use to like actually start to reflect on that one thought. First, I want to say, what words are being used in that sentence? I have to write out a proposal to the decision makers at the school. I have to is not a motivating thing to anyone, actually, but certainly not the Sanguine. So first, you want to understand where the thought is leading you. How do we do this, Matt?
Really, it's taking a look at the emotion that's generated from the thought. All right, and so it's like nailing it down to a one-word emotion. Okay, just notice that when you ask yourself the question, "How does this make me feel?" you may feel inclined to add another thought. But just get down to a one-word emotion. This is where we have our emotions wheel. That's actually something that can kind of help you grow in your emotional vocabulary. But then from that emotion, it's like, how am I showing up in this situation as well? Showing up being like, what are the behaviors? What are the things that I focus on? So your actions and your focus, that's kind of what we're looking at. So you may feel inclined to avoid or procrastinate in this particular task. You may feel inclined to focus on how much you don't want to do this task, or just how challenged you are with Microsoft Office. Right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh man, like how poor you are at formatting things and like all the reasons why you're not well suited for this task that you've put on your shoulders.
Yeah.
You may feel inclined to rebel against, in this case, the I have to. That's on the front end of that statement, which implies that, yes, you do have to. And it's like, no, but I really don't, especially when it's not true. So like just identifying those things. And then once we just bring that into awareness, we can start to make a moral evaluation of those things. Are these things that are in keeping with bringing the greatest glory to God? Are there sins that are showing up? Are there vices that we're indulging in, or that we're growing or strengthening as we think that thought in this situation? So that's where we can start to like see what the trajectory of the thought is. Is it leaning me towards God, my greatest version, or opposite direction? Yeah,
chances are this thought for a Sanguine would lead to dread. Like it would be like, I have to write out a proposal to the decision makers at the school.
I don't even like that as a
cleric.
The
emotion would lead to dread. And then you would do all the things that you just, it's like, procrastinate, ruminate, buffer, like
complain about you have to do this task.
Yep. And so it just continues on. So we know, okay, that thought is probably not going to lead anyone anywhere, but specifically the Sanguine, certainly not anywhere productive. Another question you could ask yourself is, could something else be true? I love this question, specifically for the Sanguine, because they are creative problem solvers. And they don't like to be put in a box. In fact, that is like one of their interior triggers. It's like, just like, I do not like to be put in a box. And I don't like my solutions to be put in a box either. So could something else be true? Is this the only way for you to start sharing this information over at Ave Maria University. Is this the only way? And so that kind of starts to open up this creative mind. And then we're not limited to, this is kind of the only way. I don't know how to do a proposal, all those
there's
thoughts.
An openness to the Holy Spirit's movement at that point as well.
And docility.
Docility.
Docility is one of those natural virtues that come to, like, that really the sanguine leans into.
So we're leaning into those natural virtues here as well.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So love those 2 questions. We just want to find out where the thought goes, and then maybe ask that question, what else could be true here? If you're a sanguine, let me know. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, by the way, if you're not listening to this on YouTube, go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. But also write in your comments, like say like this was helpful or it wasn't, it was garbage.
Other questions.
Yeah. Start doing different podcasts. But either way, we want to connect with you. See, this is the sanguine in me. We want to connect with you, and we want to hear your feedback on these things. Okay, finally, we are going to the metanoia. And this isn't necessarily questions that you ask yourself, but these are questions that you could ask God in this prayer, right? So in our journal, we want to bring that thought or even just the trajectory of that thought to the Lord and ask for his interpretation. But how do you ask for God's interpretation? Kind of shows up differently in each of the temperaments. You could just ask that question, Lord, what is your interpretation? And I feel like it's a beautiful question to ask. But for the sanguine, it is, Lord, what might another way look like here? And this is going off of that trajectory of where that self-coaching was going in this example. So like, we'll just say, could something else be true? Lord, what would that other way look like?
Yeah, what could a creative response be to this?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
What else could I try?
There's a try word again.
Yep. Lord, what do you, sorry, I left out a word. Lord, what do you want to collaborate and create with me? One. Like how, Lord, how do you want to collaborate together? Lord, what do you want to create with me? Please, sanguines, try that one. I think that one's like such a beautiful question. Lord, how can I contribute to this mission? Lord, am I even called to be on this mission? Maybe that's like a question where you're just bringing in that docility and you're leaning into that docility. Do I need to be entering into this mission right now? But these are just questions that you can ask the Lord, and they are customized to the sanguine. Yes. And finally, that's it. That is it, Matt.
Awesome.
Guys, we really, really, I love it that we had a laughing fit in the middle of the sanguine temperaments.
You would. Yes. I'll allow it.
We need to do that more.
Well,
you guys chat in. If you started laughing with us, write that in too. And if you got super annoyed, you can write that in too.
So we're going to continue on with this. We're going to get into the cleric, the same thing for the cleric, the melancholic, and the phlegmatic, because there's, again, different motivations. It's one of the distinctions between the temperaments. They desire to rest in different places. And so we're going to lean into that for these next couple of episodes. But like a lot of this is supporting you all doing better journaling, okay? I can't stress this enough. So the reason cycle is really like, I like to think of it as our algorithm, like our secret sauce at Metanoia Catholic, where when you start to habitually think through this process of the reason cycle, your mind is just so much cleaner. And when you have a clean mind, there's more freedom to really show up and say yes to God's will, to see it, to hear it when it's placed in front of you, which is really what people are really longing for. So often we find ourselves saying no, but it's because there's fear that's there. Why is there fear there? There's fear there because there's a thought that we're afraid of, or there's an emotion that we're afraid of. And if we don't bring that into the light, it's just going to remain there, the boogie monster in the closet. So this reason cycle is a way of bringing all of these things into the light. Christ is light, right? Holding it up to the light of reason, which is Christ. And then like seeing if it's really something that is a real thing to have like a prudent fear for or not. Most of the time is not, right? And so when we start to expel those things from our mind, it's like removing the weeds from amongst the wheat in our own interior gardens here. and it makes more space for flourishing. It tills the interior soil for Christ to be able to plant those seeds that he wants to see germinate in each one of us. And that is through the reason cycle. You can listen to this podcast and you can start to ask some of those questions. That's going to be very helpful to yourself. You can have conversations with other people and ask these questions. That's going to be a great little micro community of people that are starting to code this reason cycle in. But folks, the daily diet, the daily exercises in this journal, it's the strongest way. The number one way that we code the reason cycle into our clients is through the journal work. Yeah. So it's so intimate. It's just following a process, and the process is based on God's design, right? How God designed our minds, right? So there's science that goes into this. There's theology that goes into this. There's the wisdom of the saints that has gone into this journal, this process. And we have seen it. Like we're witnesses of ourselves. Our clients have experienced it. They're witnesses of it. When you start to have this be your habitual way of thinking in this reason cycle, there's tremendous freedom that comes in. Oh, and when amazing. You have that freedom, that's not the end in and of itself. It's what will you do with that freedom? Will you choose the mission God is putting in front of you? And oftentimes, until we have eyes to see it, until we have freedom to see it, he's not opening it and making it so clear. But as soon as we have that freedom, it can be very quick that all of a sudden the Lord lights up, illuminates a path for you, and says, hey, take this next step. And guess what? You'll take that next step, have a whole new level of awareness, a whole new level of thoughts, and you continue to bring those through the reason cycle, and and there's growth, there's virtue, there's liberation that's happening as you continue down and live by this reason cycle.
Can I just say something? So I just took everybody through, or people who showed up at Lectio Divina, through Romans 12:2 this morning.
Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Yes.
And that's it, guys. Because you're like, wait, how do it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. How do you do this? Well, St. Paul was super practical, and so are we. And it's our journal. Like that is the how. That is how you become transformed by the renewing of your mind.
It's too easy. I think it's too easy, and that's why people don't do it. It's like, it's got to be harder. It's like, all right, achievers. Just like,
all right, melancholics. All right,
it's got to be more arduous. It really is this simple. It really is this simple. And it is a new exercise. It may feel uncomfortable when you get started, but when you stick with it, it's a beautiful thing. But also, like, you're not meant to just pick up this journal and do it by yourself. Human formation happens through human connection. That's why we created our online academy, the Metanoia Catholic Academy, where you can actually get coached. You can show up to a group coaching call. You can be part of a community that's moving together with this, supporting one another with this. You can get one-on-one coaching there. We designed the academy specifically because we wanted to have a resource that could abide and walk with people that you could walk with as you're going through the journal itself, and have it be like a really easy investment for a season of your life that you make as you start to master this skill.
Yeah. That's it, guys.
It's a meta skill. Cool.
That is it. So all of you sanguines, you're welcome, and stick around.
Get
if
the
you guys
journal.
Want to hear, we're going to be talking about all the other temperaments, and the same thing. We're going to give you guys better questions.
Cool.
All right.
God bless.
Bye.
See you again. Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.